us to learn about a discipline called fasting today. Sound more excited. All those groans are from people who are or have fasted. Fasting is not a muscle you flex. It's an endearment. It's difficult, but it's just so worth it. Because, I think we hear things about fasting and or have heard about it, or you know nothing about it. But I think sometimes you hear about fasting, and you think about food. But I don't want you to hear fasting and think about food. I want you to think about God. That fasting has nothing to do about food. It has everything to do about your sustainer, who is God. The one who can provide for you. So you deny yourself something, i.e. food, so that you can have more of God. I mean, my heart's desire is that everybody would just have more of God. It can be unrealistic at times, but it's my hope. I hope that it's your hope. That you would always want more of God, always want more of a relationship, always want more of Him. And I want us to read in Matthew chapter 17 this moment that I hope will change kind of the way we view fasting, where we view this spiritual discipline. And before we do that, fasting is really what it is. It's abstaining from food and replacing that time that you would eat with time that you spend with God. So that as you replace that moment, as you replace that consumption, you're not on a diet trying to conquest more vegetables. That can be some of it. But you're in a moment where you're saying, I'm going to say no to this so I can have more of God, so I can have clarity. Because I know everybody in this room needs answers, needs truth, needs clarity, needs direction. God, what do you want me to do? Fasting will unlock that for you. Fasting is that thing that will change the game in your life. Matthew chapter 17, verse 14, in the New King James Version says this, and when they had come to the multitude, a man came to him, kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely. For he often falls into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, one of the more difficult sentences in the Bible, like Jesus got a little sassy all of a sudden. Jesus responds, "O faithless and perverse generation." If you got your Bibles out, I want you to underline these two words, faithless and perverse. It might be different in your translation. He says, "O faithless," and sassy Jesus says, "O faithless and perverse generation. How long shall I be with you? Bring him here to me." You ever have that moment? Like you're like trying to open something up. I mean, this happens all the time. Kara's like trying to open up a can, and she's like, "Can you open this for me?" I was like, "Oh, faithless and perverse wife. Let me open this can for you." I'm joking. And so I open the can. You just need help sometimes. You need help? I'm her helper. If you tap it on the corner, she's just doing it wrong. And then he says, and Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. When you read this moment, the first section of it, faithless and perverse, we read these, and they're such like big word, like oh my word, so perverted person. Like, what does this mean? And I want you to know that faithless, it means that you are disconnected from God, and perverse means that you are connected to the world. And I think so many of us live a life that we live a faithless life and connected to the world, that connected from God. So as Jesus says this, he's saying, hey, you guys disconnected from God. Hey, you guys, it's really connected to the world. Faithless is disconnected from God, and perverse is connected to the world. That if you're ever going to the place where you feel like something is missing, breakthrough isn't happening, it's probably because you're both disconnected from God and really connected to the world. You ever wonder why, man, I can't get these answers? It's because the world, and the world's not bad. Say, oh man, I can't have, pastor said I can't have social media anymore. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when it overcomes your life, it's a bad thing. Anything can become a bad thing. When alcohol becomes too big of a deal, when gossip is such a big deal, when anger is such a big deal, these worldly things involve your life, You are connected to the world too much. He reads on in verse 19. Jesus speaks on, and he says this. He says, then the disciples came to Jesus privately, because they're like embarrassed. Like, hey, remember that time we tried to heal? And up to this point, the disciples are able to heal. Up to this point, they're healing people left and right. And you get a healing, you get a healing, you get a healing. They find this moment, all of a sudden it doesn't happen. And so they're kind of like, I imagine they're kind of embarrassed. You have that moment where like you prayed for something, you wanted it to happen, and it didn't happen. You're like, why didn't it work? Even the disciples experience this. And Jesus responds, and the disciples say to him, why could we not cast it out? They're asking this genuine question. So Jesus said to them, because of your unbelief. For assuredly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there. And it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. However, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. Saying, you don't cast demons out of people. You don't heal people. You don't have these moments without prayer and fasting. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, better you, better church, I think if we're honest with ourselves, our prayer life is struggling, and fasting is something that we've never done. Maybe not good at, even been successful in. I want you to look at, if you look at prayer and fasting, prayer, it connects you to God. Remember, faithless means you're disconnected from God. A prayer life connects you to God. You wonder why don't feel connected to God? Because our line of communication is not happening frequently. Our line of conversation is not something that's going on all the time. See, prayer connects you to God, and fasting disconnects you from the world. So where faithless and perverse can always be answered by prayer and fasting. I think there's an ingredient for us today that will unlock something that we've been desiring, something that we've been wanting, something that we've been contending for, something that we want. You ever feel like there's like an ingredient missing in your life? You ever have that moment where you order your cup of coffee? Now, I'm a short Americano type of person, so it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while I get crazy and I get a 12-ounce, dairy-free caramel macchiato. Huh. People who drink those all the time, you're my hero. I don't know how you do it. It is just unbelievable. Every time I drink my Americano, I love it. And then I drink like Kara's drink, and I'm like, why are you even ordering mine? Yours is like candy. But like, you ever have that moment where you get your drink from Starbucks, and you're like, it's not it. There's some, and you come back up and you say sentences like this, I think something's missing, when really you're like, something's missing. Why don't we just say it like, something's missing, you messed up, okay? And we say, I think something might be wrong. I'm so sorry. Why do I apologize when they screwed up? I don't know. Maybe because it's nice. No, never mind. I answered my question. It's nice. And so, like, I give that back because something's missing in it. You ever bake something and, like, missing ingredient? You ever cook something and missing ingredient? You're like, it's close. And I think so many of our walks with Jesus are so similar. I want to illustrate this point. Okay, I think so many of our walks with Jesus are so similar to this, is that we have the ingredients. We have the stuff. We are so close to unlocking things, but we're missing out on the lesser-known spiritual gift of walking with God called fasting. We're missing out on it. That I think if we surveyed the room, majority would say, never done it. Majority of the room would say, haven't done it, but it's never been successful before. Majority of the room would be like, I don't know what to do. But you take a bottle of soda, and it has just a myriad of ingredients in it. I watch too many shows where things blow up. Okay, we're done. I mean, if you read this label, it's a bunch of words that you can't pronounce. And I think many of us, we have a walk with God where it just is there. And it has the potential of being something really exciting. It has the potential of, like, we would use words like breakthrough. And I think so many, you've come today because you want an experience with God. You've come today because you want a touch from God. You've come today because your circumstance just is not awesome. And you're like, God, will you just change this? Change my attitude? God, will you just move in me? And he's saying, I've been speaking to you this entire time. I have the plans for you, but you're not listening to my plans because you're so connected to the world. Would you disconnect and re-engage with me? Would you allow me to speak to you and guide you? And I think we've got to recognize in those moments, in those times, we are able to allow God to just take something to a whole nother level, to allow God to be able to move into our lives, to allow God to speak to us and guide us. And when you fast, this is what you get. I will never grow up. I was walking around the church this week, and I was yelling, and everyone was laughing at me because I kept saying, how do we make fasting fun? Ta-da! Everybody, Andrew. Because when you add God into your life, intentional time with him to allow his voice to speak to you. You hear all the time, God's speaking. And you're like, not to me. I would say, because you've missed out on the spiritual discipline of fasting. The Bible would say, it's because you've missed out on the spiritual discipline of fasting. Even as we sat around as a staff this week and as our teaching team, we began to tell fasting stories. And far more of them had to do with failures than successes. Far more of them had to do with moments where they tried to fast and it didn't work. Moments where they gave in to their flesh. Moments where I gave into my. Moments where I just basically became like a glorified like vegetarian. Like I just began to eat vegetables. But remember, like fasting isn't just abstaining from something. It's replacing that meal with God. So instead of eating that meal, you're engaging what God has for you. Because when you get physically weak, your spirit can get strong. When you sacrifice, there'll be a great reward. I think once that sacrifice begins to settle in, we have a give-up mentality. And the greatest things in my life are the moments that I've sacrificed the most. That if I want to hear God's voice and he's saying, man, if you fast, I'll speak to you clearer than I've ever spoken before. I'll reveal things to you. I want to do it. I want to be a part of that. Jensen Franklin puts it this way. He says there's 3 duties of a Christian, and they're giving and praying and fasting. That we don't open up a series like this just to talk about these things because they're nice suggestions in the Bible. No, because they just change the outcome of your life because it adds more God. When you give, you trust God more. When you fast, you sacrifice more for who God is. When you pray, you're asking for a response from God saying, I trust you, I have faith in you. There's just these 3 duties, these 3 moments that you get to just follow that and begin to have that and begin to walk with him. Because fasting food is making the conscious decision to remove the thing we need to survive to see God as the thing we need to survive. When I remove food from my life, I'm saying I no longer want that to lead my life. I want God to be my provider. I want God to sustain me. I want God to give me something. I want God to be able to guide me in the midst of those moments. And that abstaining and that replacing, because fasting is not dieting. You might lose a couple lbs in the process, but it's not dieting. Fasting, I think fasting is the lesser known spiritual discipline because it's not sexy. There's nobody like sitting at a restaurant and being like sitting down with you, just be like, no, sorry, I can't, I'm fasting. Listen, you just skipped breakfast. You're not fasting. Calm down. You just missed breakfast. Because if you're stuck, if you're bothered, if you're lonely, if you're depressed, if you feel like you can't hear God, if you feel like you're struggling, if you just want more of God, fast. Pick a time and fast. Pick a time and allow him to speak to you, because I don't fast because I'm holy. I fast because I'm unholy, and I need to hear from God. I don't know if you know, but as a staff and students at our church, we fast for you every Tuesday. every Tuesday we fast. We do a Daniel fast together, and then we eat again at dinner time. And because on Tuesdays our staff is together, we make a lot of very big spiritual decisions, if you will. We review services. We get ready for the next service. We pick songs. We do all these different things. We talk about view groups. And we do all these different things. And I want my spirit to lead me and not my flesh. I want my spirit to lead my life. And I think for you as a parent, for you as being in a marriage, for you as a single, wherever you are, you want your spirit to lead your life more than you want your flesh to lead your life. You want your spirit to lead your life. You want to allow him to be able to guide you and be able to speak to you and be able to provide answers that you long for, that you're looking for. And I want to just give a handful of moments that we see fasting in the Bible. Because I think the best decisions are made with fasting. Best decisions are made with fasting. My mom and dad, they have this line. This is a pro parenting tip if you're a parent. My mom and my dad, they have this line. They say, Veach kids make best decisions. They make ranked decisions. Poor, good, better, best. So I remember being like 12 years old. My parents being like, I'd be like, can I do this? And they're like, no, is that a best decision? I don't know. They were teaching me how to make good decisions, how to like know right from wrong. And like as a 12-year-old, they're like, was throwing rocks at your friends a good idea? Like, this is a legit conversation. Like, was that a best decision? I was like, felt like at the time, I hit them, so accuracy is a best. I mean, like you just have these moments, and the best decisions are made with fasting. Far too often do we get into relationships. Far too often do we get into financial moments of cars and of houses. Far too often do we accept jobs without listening to the voice of God. Man, I just really hope this works out. Well, stop hoping and add God. You know he's there to speak to you. He loves you. He cares for you. He created you. He's not like, wow, geez, Louise, they're just putting a lot of hope in that one. No. He's so desperate for his voice to be heard in your life. Best decisions are made with fasting. You see this in Acts chapter 14, verse 23. Paul and Barnabas also appointed elders in every church. They didn't just and you get an elder, and you get an elder, and you get an elder. And no. It says Paul and Barnabas appointed elders in the church with prayer and fasting. They turned the elders over to the care of the Lord, in whom they put their trust. Don't make decisions without fasting. Don't make monumental moments of your life without God, is what I'm saying. Don't allow your flesh to lead your life. Time is of the essence, but nothing's more pressing than a moment with God. Nothing's more pressing than allowing him to lead you. The next thing is pray and fast with community. Pray and fast with community. I think sometimes we think these spiritual things we need to do on our alone. We need to do in isolation. I think there's moments where it's great for you to be alone, but I think it's great. We see so many moments where people, they fast together in community. That even our teaching team this last week, as we were getting ready for this message, the whole teaching team, 6 or 7 of us, they said, we're going to fast for you, Kyle, for God to reveal his truth, so that you, as you're finishing this message, it'll be exactly what God has for our church. That's amazing. 6 people, 7 people saying, you know what, we're going to deny ourselves so that God will speak. And I notice the same thing in Esther chapter 4, verse 16. Esther says this. She says, go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. You know, it's not a selfish thing to look at. It's like, hey, fast for me and help me move. They're like right next to each other. Like, if you start calling me every week and be like, hey, Kyle, I got a big decision. Could you fast for me? I might. I might not say yes. Could you help me move? That's definitely a no. But, fast for you, that's a maybe. He says, do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day, My maids and I will do the same. She doesn't say like, hey, fast for me and I'm gonna party. She says, fast for me and I'm gonna fast as well. She invites community together. Daniel does the same thing. Nehemiah does the same thing. We fast and we come together as community. That this next week at the end of service, we're gonna explain to you that we're gonna fast and contend for our community. For View Church Snohomish, for our midweek service, I'm gonna fast for you that the friend that you've been wanting to bring to church will come with you and we'll meet Jesus next Wednesday night. We'll meet Jesus on Sunday. Like we're gonna contend together as a community, not just say, well, yeah, you fast, you do your thing, I'm going to do my own fast, I'm going to do my own fast. It's just a bunch of people doing their own thing. Community comes together and does it together. Just say, oh, figure it out on your own. It's great to sacrifice in good company. Just this last week, I went to the gym with my friend, and this was just like this ridiculous workout that we were going to do, and I convinced him to come, and he's like, why did you do this? Why did you convince me to come? I didn't want to suffer alone. It's nice to suffer with you. Misery enjoys good company. Yeah, amen. Okay, big moments come with fasting. Big moments come with fasting. Exodus chapter 34, verse 28. Moses remained there on the mountain with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights. In all that time he ate no bread and drank no water. And the Lord wrote the terms of the covenant, the 10 Commandments, on the stone tablets. So in the midst of Moses fasting, we receive the 10 Commandments. You know, God has something so big for him to reveal in your life that if we would just set apart time to fast, he could reveal those truths to us. The plan, man, God, what are you doing with my life? Man, these plans that you have for me, everyone says these kinds of things. I just don't know what it is, and we just go on our merry way, connected to the world, when he's saying, I've been speaking my plans to you this entire time, but if you just set apart to be able to hear my voice, you begin to hear what I have for you. But he's watching you not prosper. He's watching you get hurt. He's watching these things. You're like, God, why do you allow bad things to happen to me? And he's like, man, if you just stop and listen to my voice, that those things wouldn't be happening. You just stop and just, man, I'd be able to tell you. You just stop and just, I'd love to. My mom, growing up, she would pray and fast for us kids. She didn't pray and fast for our success. She didn't pray and fast for our athletics. She didn't pray and fast for our academics. She didn't pray and fast that we'd be great law-abiding, upstanding citizens. You think that your mom would do that? No, she didn't. My mom would pray and fast that we would get caught. What a jerk. Why can't you pray and fast that I'd make a better decision and not do something stupid? She said she wanted us to learn from our mistakes and all this kind of stuff and all this nonsense. You know, I got caught all the time. There came a time in my life where I just stopped doing dumb things. Because I was like, I'm just going to get caught. I'm not going to go to a party. I'll just get caught. I'm not sneaking out of the house again. The last time I did, I got caught. And my mom, I got caught sneaking out of the house. I come back in. My mom goes, I was praying and fasting. You get caught tonight. That's why Mom, why didn't you be like, hey, Kyle, I think you're going to make a bad decision tonight. Could you not? I'm like, yeah. I think there's moments of our lives that we're making really big moments, really big ideas, really big things where we're not involving that praying and fasting element. And God said, I have something to reveal to you. I have truth. And oftentimes when I pray and fast, I receive something I'm not asking for. Because he has something so much better than my puny little brain could ever muster up. He's so much. I'm like contending for this, and he gives me this, and I'm like, oh, that's good, but I was okay, fine. And you just have those moments with God. I think another one is that we pray and fast in mourning. When you're in mourning, when you're in difficulty, when life just is not awesome, when you lose a family member, a loved one, when you lose a job, when things just get so difficult, may you remember to pray and fast. Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 4, this is what he does. This is when I heard this, I sat down and I wept. It doesn't mean that you can't cry. It doesn't mean that you can't be angry. It doesn't mean you can't be frustrated. But what he does after he weeps because he finds that Jerusalem has been destroyed, It says, in fact, for days I mourned and fasted and prayed to the God of heaven. You ever have those moments where you're just like, God, what are you doing? God, why? And you're yelling at him. And fasting unlocks something in your life that is pretty unexplainable, but can only be God. Then in your mourning, loss is inevitable. Brokenness is inevitable. Difficulties are inevitable. But may we add fasting. May we add that element to our relationship with him. And I think lastly in these points is in temptation, fast. There's so much temptation in our world. So much hurt, there's so much pain, there's so many things coming at you and pulling you this way or that way. In temptation, fast. Luke chapter 4, verse 2, when Jesus, where he was tempted by the devil for 40 days, Jesus ate nothing. He ate nothing all that time and became very hungry. I read this and I just reminded that if Jesus fasted in the midst of temptation, I need to fast in the midst of temptation and be reminded that his strength is stronger than my flesh. His strength is always going to be stronger than my flesh. As your body becomes weaker, your spirit becomes stronger. Physical obedience brings spiritual release. If you want more of God, he's ready to give you more. And I think fasting is so funny. People will talk about all this. Oh, yeah, I'm fasting right now. Jeez Louise, I've been on a 6-hour fast. I'm starving. Starving like Marvin. Just, I can't handle it. Yeah, breakthrough's coming. I mean, most of the time when I fast, I find myself like say it's like 14 days. That makes me sound too spiritual. Say it's like 3 days. It's like the third day at like 10 p.m. as I'm going to bed, God speaks. I'm like, really? Like Monday you couldn't, day one? God, remember when I sacrificed like the first hour? It's always like the 11th hour. He's like, all right, reveal truth. It's always better than anything that I could plan. If you want more of God, if you feel disconnected from God. See, I think a powerful church fast. I think a powerful family fast. I think a powerful person who follows God fast. So I want to give you three kind of how-tos, if you will. We're going to fast from this Wednesday to the following Wednesday, to the 27th through the, no, that's not right. The 23rd through the 30th. We're fast from January 23rd to January 30th. Go back a slide, please. I want to, first one, set your objective. This is why I don't understand runners. They just run. Like, what's the point? Get some miles in. You're just wearing short shorts running for a long period of time. Set an objective, okay? Have a goal. Like what's the point? Have a goal. So, what are you contending for? What are you fighting for? What do you want an answer for? What is it that you're trying to get from God for him to speak to you? Declare our dependence on God. Ask for forgiveness. Reinforce, look at eternity. Invite the presence of God in our lives. Believe God for answers to specific needs. Contend. Why are you fasting? Nothing's worse than fasting or having a goal with no purpose. Just doing it, just going through the motions, okay? That point, you're just starving yourself and you're disconnecting from God and from the world. It doesn't make sense, okay? Set an objective. The second thing, decide what type of fast you'll do. There's 3 different types of fast, okay? I'll cover this real fast. We don't got a lot of time. 3 different types of fast. Nothing at all. No food, no water, nothing. Just your spit. That's it. Secondly, you could fast and just drink water. The first one we call insanity. The second one we call still insane. Just water. The third one is a Daniel fast. It's called a partial fast. Okay? You can, Daniel, he puts it out there, but it's fruit and nuts and vegetables. That's it. And water. Okay? So you're moving vegetables and it's very difficult, but it's great. You're constantly reminded. But as you're fasting, you're taking that time for breakfast, for lunch, and you're replacing it with praying. You're replacing it with reading your Bible. You're replacing it with intentional time with God, okay? And so those are the 3 different types. Now, can I fast social media? God cares far more about your heart than anything else. There's a moment where Jesus even removes himself from a party to go fast. So we potentially could say that he says yes to social media. But just have a moment where like, if it's social media, if it's TV, if it's food, may you abstain and replace that time with God. Now open up your iPhone, see how much time that you're on Instagram and Facebook, and then replace those hours with God. Okay, and so instead of having 4 hours on Facebook scrolling through, oblivion, have 4 hours with God. Some of you are like, no, never mind, I'll replace food. That only takes an hour. You can replace those times. Like, that's what's healthy about it. So decide what type of fast, and then thirdly, expect results. Go into it with an expectation that God's going to speak and God's going to move. Psalms chapter 58, the whole chapter is all about fasting. In verses 8 through 9, he talks about the three thens. Then. He says, and then there was healing, and then there was godliness, and then there were answers. And so just expect that to happen in your life. Have a great expectation. Like, God's not going to let you down. So this next week, we are going to fast together from Wednesday to Wednesday. A lot's going on from the launch of our new community, Veach Church Snohomish, and then also midweek back here on the 30th. That the whole church will be together. So from January 23rd to January 30th, here's a couple options. It's going to get emailed out to you, post on social media, all that kind of stuff. If you're not on the email list, make sure you text Veach Church to 97,000 and get on that. 7-day Daniel fast. So remember, that's fruits and nuts and vegetables and water. 7-day Daniel fast. Then January 23rd. So that's an option one. January 23rd, water only fast. Okay? So the first day, you're going to come out of the gates and just have water. Just have water. Just have water. Just have water. Okay? So that's another option. January 27th, which is next Sunday, our new community launches. And we're going to do water only until dinner. Okay? Water only until dinner. So you're fasting all through the services. You're fasting through Veach Church Snohomish. You're the setup team, everything like that. We're going to fast and then have dinner together that night, however you'd like to break that. January 28th through the 30th. So Monday to Wednesday, do the Daniel fast so that you're contending for people to come to service with you. You're praying that, midweek's going to be amazing, and praying for, the worship and the speaker and different things like that as they invite their friends. And then another one, January 28th, a water-only fast, okay? Suggestions will always be things about the church, but you pick what those are. You pick what your objective is. There are people in your life who need Jesus. Fast for them. Don't just hope for them. Fast for them. Make action for them. Make great sacrifice for them. I mean, it's kind of an interesting sentence that we say, man, I really hope they'd come to church with me, but you won't make action of fasting for them to come to church with you. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. But we say it all the time. We do things like that all the time. May we begin to fast and make physical action for God to move in our lives. Amen? Is fasting fun now? Oh, my God. I wanted fasting to be fun. Is fasting fun? Raise your hand if you're going to fast this next week. Don't be a liar. Okay, that's fine. I saw those hands that didn't go up. Let's stand. I think most importantly is we say jokingly that fasting be fun, but we say, like, we want fasting to happen in your life because we want breakthrough to happen in your life. We want the things that you're praying for to happen, the things that you're fighting for. So I want you to do something. This is our last time, which is very fun that we get to do this. This is our last time that we're together as one community. And next week, it'll look different. People that you're standing next to and sitting next to will be somewhere else. New people are going to be added to your church that you potentially won't see. You'll drive into Snohomish and someone's going to say, yeah, what church do you go to? I go to Veach Church. And you're going to be like, I do too. And you're going to be able to say, I go to Veach Church Clearview, and they're going to say, I go to Veach Church Snohomish. You're going to be able to talk about sermon series that are exactly the same. You're going to be talking about the same people. It's a lot ahead, but it's just a lot of people meeting Jesus. That's all we see. So can you do me a favor? Can you grab hands one last time as a community? Can you bridge the aisles and the gaps? and allow God to just unite us as a community. Our biggest prayer need has been that we would be united. If you have sweaty palms, just wipe your hands off, please. If it's too late, say sorry. As the last time we meet together as one community, as God has given us vision for the next, let's cement all of our actions in his words. Father God,